They thought you would break. They thought you would crawl back, begging, desperate, shattered under the weight of their absence. But instead, you disappeared. Not with a shout, not with a grand speech, but with a silence so profound that it left them facing the one thing they could never defeat: themselves. You didn't send angry messages. You didn't post bitter quotes. You simply vanished. And in that vanishing, you broke them in ways they never saw coming. When someone loses access to your life, and you do not chase, explain, or beg, it creates a vacuum. And that vacuum is deafening. It forces them to look at their reflection without your love there to soften the flaws. It forces them to realize that maybe, just maybe, they were never as necessary, as irreplaceable as they wanted to believe. And the more you rise, truly rise, not pretending, not performing, but genuinely thriving, the deeper the fracture grows inside them. No tantrum can cover it. No rebound relationship can erase it. No frantic attempt at happiness can mask the hollow echo you left behind. Because here's the brutal truth they don't tell you. Disappearing, truly disappearing, is not passive. It is the loudest scream you never make. It is the heaviest blow you never swing. It is the mirror they can't look away from, no matter how fast they run or how loudly they pretend to laugh. They feel your absence more than they ever felt your presence, and it haunts them. Every smile they fake, every new hand they hold, every shallow distraction they chase is poisoned by the knowledge that somewhere out there, you are living better, harder, freer without them. In this video, we are going to expose the silent signs that you broke them by simply refusing to be part of their game anymore. You will understand why they seem louder, angrier, needier, even when they pretend everything is fine. You will see the quiet war raging inside them, the desperate clawing for validation, the hollow victories that only deepen their loss. We are not here to gloat. We are here to understand the brutal reality of human pride, ego, and regret, and how your strength and silence became the wound they cannot heal. But before we begin, if you are serious about building yourself into someone no betrayal, no abandonment, no lie can ever touch again, act now. Subscribe to Victory Stoic. This isn't entertainment. It's your battlefield manual. Like this video to mark your commitment to never chasing what chose to lose you. Share it with a brother who needs to be reminded of his worth when the world tries to make him doubt it. And most importantly, drop a comment. Claim your transformation. Type "Silence is my power." Or if you have the courage, tell your story, the fall, the loss, the quiet rising no one saw coming. Here we honor those who build themselves back stronger, not those who stay broken. Now, let's uncover the truth most people are too afraid to face. How your quiet disappearance was the most devastating answer you could ever give. Number 1, they pretend not to care, yet they search for any trace of you. At first you would think they have moved on. They smile a little too easily, post pictures with friends you've never met, dive into new hobbies, even parade a new lover across their social media feed like a banner at a parade you're not invited to. Everything screams, "I'm fine without you." But underneath the polished facade, behind the curated moments, a gnawing emptiness festers. A void that your silent absence carved so cleanly that no distraction can fill it. They pretend not to care, but the truth is brutal and undeniable. They are haunted by your silence in ways they cannot escape. Psychologists studying attachment behaviors call this protest behavior. Small, sometimes unconscious actions meant to elicit a reaction from someone who has withdrawn. The mind, especially when denied closure, loops obsessively, seeking any signal, any breadcrumb, any shadow that confirms it still matters. Research from the University of Virginia shows that emotional attachments, once broken without closure, activate the same neural circuits involved in physical cravings and withdrawal. In plain language, losing emotional access to someone can be as chemically tormenting as withdrawing from an addiction. They start searching, quietly, carefully at first, checking your last seen status, peeking at your social media profiles through fake accounts, asking mutual friends how you are doing under the guise of casual conversation. Their pride prevents them from reaching out openly, but their mind refuses to let go without a fight. Your silence becomes a riddle they cannot solve, a fire they cannot extinguish. Every unanswered question about you becomes another stone chained to their chest. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome and a man who lost more loved ones than most could endure, wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." But he also knew that clinging to what has left only multiplies suffering. Your disappearance forced them into a confrontation they were never prepared for. The realization that their presence in your life was not indispensable. And that cuts deeper than any insult, any final argument, any closure you could have given. Take the example of Ben, a 36-year-old firefighter from Ohio. When his longtime girlfriend left him, claiming she needed to find herself, Ben didn't chase. He didn't send drunken messages. He didn't stalk her social media. He simply disappeared. Months later, it wasn't him who cracked, it was her. She started sending mutual friends to check in, liking random posts from years ago, posting nostalgic references to places they had visited together. When confronted, she laughed it off. But every action betrayed the truth. She was searching for him in the ruins of the life she thought she could live without him. And here's the savage irony. The more you grow in silence, the more you live without them, the stronger the obsession becomes on their side. It's not you they miss. It's the reflection of themselves they saw in your eyes. A reflection now shattered and unreachable. You didn't just leave their life. You took with you the part of their identity that only existed in your acceptance. And they are left clawing at ghosts. You must understand, this is not your problem to solve. It's not your responsibility to soothe their regret or to answer their silent inquiries. The path of the Stoic is not to vindicate himself to those who wronged him, but to walk forward with dignity, indifferent to applause or condemnation. As Epictetus taught, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Their curiosity, their games, their desperate attempts to confirm they still matter. They are provocations designed to pull you back into a drama you have already outgrown. Practical tip: when you feel the temptation to check whether they are checking on you, to read into a random like or a casual message from a friend, remind yourself of the law of silence. Write it somewhere you can see. Their curiosity is not my summons. Their confusion is their burden. Their regret is their crucible. Your duty is to your future, not their past. Build daily rituals that deepen your absence from their world, not just physically, but energetically. Wake up early and train your body harder than ever. Pour your heart into work that fulfills you. Cultivate friendships with people who feed your growth, not your nostalgia. Start projects that intimidate you, not because you seek distraction, but because you seek dominion over your own story. Let your new life speak so loudly that you never need to explain your silence. There will be moments, quiet, sharp moments, when you sense them watching, wondering, aching. You might feel the flicker of old sympathy. Resist it. Compassion is good. Regression is not. You are not here to be a life raft for someone who set your boat on fire. You are here to become the kind of man who does not flinch when the past knocks at the door he has already closed. Understand this. You broke them, not by fighting, not by pleading, not by proving, but by disappearing without anger, without explanation, without regret. You broke them by leaving them alone with the only enemy they could never outmaneuver, themselves. And that is a battle they will fight, quietly and endlessly, long after your silence has become the most deafening sound in their world. Number 2. They flaunt a fake life to cover the crater you left behind. Watch them closely, not with bitterness, not with longing, but with the cold eyes of a man who understands how people behave when they are losing a war they cannot admit is happening. After you disappear, their world doesn't simply shift, it implodes quietly behind the stage curtains. But pride, that last crumbling fortress, demands that they don't let the collapse show. So they do what the broken always do. They build a beautiful lie and post it for all the world to see. Suddenly, their life becomes a highlight reel of artificial happiness. New adventures, new people, new smiles, each one curated and filtered to perfection. Weekend getaways to places they never mentioned before. Group photos where the laughter is a little too loud, the poses a little too rehearsed. Inspirational captions about growth and new beginnings, crafted with the desperation of a drowning soul trying to convince the shore they can swim. But if you know where to look, and you do, you can see the cracks. The way their eyes, once vibrant, now glaze over even in high-definition photos. The frantic posting schedules, desperate to fill the hours they once spent sharing time with you. The hollow enthusiasm, the brittle energy that collapses when no one is watching. They aren't celebrating life. They are staging a funeral for the version of themselves that died the day you walked away. Social media, the theater of modern sorrow, becomes their battleground. They dress their wounds in hashtags and filters, hoping that if enough people like their new life, maybe the ache gnawing their insides will quiet down. But likes are not love. Comments are not comfort. Views are not validation. And no amount of virtual applause can drown out the silence you left behind. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has little who is poor, but the one who craves more." They are starving, not for experiences, not for friendships, not even for love. They are starving for the reflection of themselves they once saw in your eyes, the reflection that made them feel whole, important, necessary. And now, with you gone, they scramble to manufacture a new image of themselves, loud enough to convince not you, but themselves, that they are still significant. Take Lisa, a 34-year-old marketing executive from New York. When her fiancé left her without drama, without noise, just a clean, merciless silence, she didn't collapse outwardly. She curated a new identity overnight. Wellness retreats, candlelit dinners with new faces, motivational quotes about rebirth under every other post. Yet those close to her saw the truth she could not filter. The tremor in her hands at the end of long, empty nights, the hollow-eyed stare into her wine glass, the way she recoiled from real conversations like a wound too fresh to touch. Her public life sparkled brighter than ever. Her private soul shriveled in a darkness no amount of Instagram captions could illuminate. There is something almost tragic in the spectacle. They are not evil. They are not monsters. They are simply lost, caught between the need to seem invincible and the unbearable reality that they are breaking piece by piece in the absence of someone they thought would always be there. And here's the hard truth. The more you thrive quietly, without broadcasting your progress, the more their charade will tear them apart. Your real happiness, the one not photographed, not filtered, not flaunted, becomes a silent accusation against everything they are pretending to be. They cannot copy it because they don't understand it. They cannot fake it because it doesn't come from the outside. It grows from the ashes of real pain, real solitude, real resurrection. Practical tip: when you stumble across their staged life, because you will, through mutual friends or random chance, do not react. Do not stalk. Do not comment. Do not let their theater infect your mind. Instead, smile inwardly. Not because you pity them, but because you understand something they don't. Real peace doesn't need an audience. Remember Marcus Aurelius's brutal advice? Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Waste no time analyzing their facade. Waste no time comparing your real, battered, bleeding growth to their glittering performances. You are not playing the same game. You are not even on the same battlefield anymore. They post, they pose, they laugh too loud into the void. But deep down in the moments no camera captures, they feel it. The crater you left in their life, growing deeper with every forced smile they show the world. You disappeared. You didn't just leave the room. You left a silence so loud, even their brightest performances can't drown it out. Number 3. They find someone else, but the void remains. It happens faster than you expect. Maybe you hear about it from a mutual friend. Maybe you see a picture slip across your feed one day like a knife sliding between your ribs. There they are, smiling next to someone new. Someone you've never met. Someone you never thought would be wearing the place in their life where you once stood. For a split second, a cold voice inside you whispers, "They moved on. You meant nothing." But that voice is a liar, because what you are seeing isn't love. It's desperation dressed up as recovery. It's an unconscious scramble to patch a hole they cannot name, cannot locate, and cannot fix. They aren't moving on. They're reaching out into the darkness for something, anything that can drown out the roaring silence you left behind. They are not replacing you. They are chasing ghosts and losing. Psychologists call this replacement attachment, a phenomenon where individuals attempt to mask unresolved emotional wounds by forming rapid new connections. It's not healing. It's a decoy, a distraction from the work they are too weak, too scared, too broken to do. New faces, new conversations, new laughs. None of it touches the place inside them that is still bleeding from your absence. Because what they lost was never just you. It was the version of themselves that only existed in the light of your presence. It was the part of their soul you awakened. The dreams, the hope, the raw belief that they were more than what the world had made them. You didn't just share moments. You carved pieces of yourself into each other's bones. You built rituals of meaning into the ordinary. You made them see themselves differently, better, if only for a while. And now, without you, that reflection is gone, and the new mirror they hold up with someone else is cracked, distorted, empty. Take Ryan, a 33-year-old architect from Colorado. When his longtime partner left, she was in another relationship within a month. Ryan, thinking he was forgotten, fell into despair, until he started noticing the pattern. The new man wore his cologne, took her to the same mountains Ryan used to hike with her, ate at the same late-night diners. She wasn't building something new. She was trying to resurrect what she had already killed. But you cannot dig up the dead and pretend they are alive. She wasn't smiling because she was fulfilled. She was smiling because she was terrified of facing the crater she had torn into her own life. Seneca warned of this long before psychologists put a name to it. What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. Grieving over the loss of a relationship is normal. What they are doing, plastering new faces over old wounds, is not grieving. It's running from the graveyard. It's trying to pretend that if they can just laugh enough, touch enough, kiss enough, the emptiness will close itself. It won't. It never has. It never will. The harder they chase new love, the more they reveal how deeply you broke them. Not because you were perfect, not because they are evil, but because real connections, once lost, leave wounds that cannot be stitched up with new faces and shallow promises. Here's the brutal truth you must swallow without flinching. The new person is not your competition. They are not your replacement. They are the Band-Aid slapped over a bullet wound. No human being, no matter how kind or attractive or willing, can become the missing piece that another person refuses to reclaim from within themselves. You must refuse to look backward. Refuse to let jealousy poison your rise. Their rebound is not proof of your failure. It is proof of their inability to stand alone. Meanwhile, you, standing bloody, battered, alone but unbent, are doing the harder, nobler work. You are rebuilding from bedrock, not scraps. You are forging resilience that does not depend on another's arms around you. Practical weapon. Whenever you feel the pang of jealousy or the temptation to compare yourself to their new partner, immediately return your focus inward. Write down 3 ways your life has improved since you let go. Name 3 victories you've earned with no one clapping but yourself. Channel your energy not into stalking their facade, but into building a reality so solid that no ghost, no memory, no illusion can shake it. Marcus Aurelius, facing betrayal, loneliness, and death on the cold edges of the empire, still found the will to write, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." They are an outside event. Their choices, their illusions, their desperate sprints into other arms, none of it can touch the fortress you are building unless you lower the gates yourself. They can stack up 100 replacements. They can pose for 1,000 photos. They can scream into the void with laughter so brittle it shatters on impact. But they will never recreate what they lost in you. Because you were never just another person. You were a sanctuary they didn't know how to honor until it was too late. And you, if you are wise, will honor yourself now. Not by proving you are better, not by chasing their ghosts, but by becoming so complete that no loss, no betrayal, no loneliness can ever make you smaller again. They found someone else. But the void you left is still there. And no matter how fast they run, no matter how brightly they pretend to shine, that hollow place will whisper your absence for the rest of their life. Quiet, endless, unfillable. And you will have already moved beyond hearing it. Number 4. They are angry at your silence, but even angrier at themselves. Silence is a weapon sharper than any word. You didn't scream, you didn't explain, you didn't beg for understanding. You simply disappeared into the fog, leaving nothing behind but questions they can't answer and echoes they can't silence. And so the anger begins. Not the loud, theatrical rage they might show the world, but the bitter, gnawing resentment that festers inside them every time they remember you're out there living freely, beyond the reach of their accusations. They are furious that you don't engage, that you don't rise to their bait, that you don't feed their need for validation through conflict. They want to fight. They crave a confrontation. Anything to reestablish the old dynamic where your emotions were entangled with theirs, where your reactions proved they still mattered. But your silence is a mirror they can't stand to look into because it shows them the truth. They no longer have the power to summon you. And beneath that fury, beneath every resentful thought and every passive-aggressive post they hope you'll somehow see, is a deeper, sharper anger, directed not at you, but at themselves. They are enraged because they forfeited the right to demand anything from you. In the world they created when they chose betrayal, abandonment, or apathy, they destroyed the bridge back to your respect. Now they realize they cannot cross the ruins they made with their own hands. Psychologically, this is called cognitive dissonance, the unbearable tension between who they think they are and what their actions reveal. They want to believe they were justified. They want to believe they were right. But your refusal to engage leaves them trapped alone with the creeping suspicion that they weren't, that perhaps they lost something irreplaceable, and worse, that they can no longer reach you even if they screamed your name across 1,000 nights. Epictetus warned, if someone does wrong, it is because he does not know better. Blame not him, but his ignorance. Your silence exposes their ignorance. Your absence forces them to confront the consequences of actions they once justified so easily. They can't shout their way back into your life. They can't guilt-trip their way into your mind. All they can do is stew in a rage that has nowhere to go except inward. Take Jessica, a 29-year-old nurse from Seattle. After leaving her long-term boyfriend for something more exciting, she expected drama, tears, a last-minute confession of undying love. Instead, she received silence. No angry texts, no drunken voicemails, nothing. At first, she posted smiling photos with her new lover, tagging places she knew he would see. When that didn't provoke a reaction, she started sending mutual friends to check in. When even that failed, the anger turned savage. She cursed him in private, blamed him for not fighting, for not caring. But alone at night, she knew the truth. He cared enough to walk away with dignity, and she had no rights left over the man she once thought she controlled. This is the savage elegance of true detachment. You don't punish them by hating them. You punish them by refusing to acknowledge the narrative they are desperately trying to write without you. You refuse to give them the gift of your anger, your sadness, your explanation. You leave them to argue alone in the empty courtroom of their own conscience. Practical application. If you ever feel tempted to break your silence, to answer that random message, to react to that veiled insult online, to justify your absence, stop, breathe. Remind yourself, they lost the right to demand my voice the moment they chose to live without it. Write it down if you must. Repeat it every time the urge rises. Your silence is no longer passive. It is active strength. It is your final, brutal answer. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." Let them rage, plot, post, pretend. You are not here to match their noise. You are here to embody a different law. A law of discipline, power, and irreversible growth. Your silence is not weakness. Your silence is not surrender. Your silence is the monument you build on the ashes of what they destroyed. And every second you stay silent, they hear it louder than any scream you could ever deliver. A funeral bell tolling for the version of you they will never have access to again. Number 5. They collapse silently, drowning in work, parties, and an emptiness that refuses to leave. When you disappeared, they didn't fall apart immediately. No. Pride wouldn't allow it. Ego demanded that they stand tall, that they prove to the world and to themselves that they could live without you, thrive without you, laugh without you. So they built a frantic, glittering wall to keep the pain at bay. They threw themselves into work. They packed their calendars with meetings, deadlines, obligations. They rushed headfirst into every party invitation, every casual night out, every cheap thrill that could momentarily drown the silence you left behind. To the outside world, they seemed unstoppable, productive, energetic, vibrant. But it was all camouflage for the war tearing them apart inside. Work can kill hours. It cannot kill grief. Laughter can echo through crowded bars, but it cannot drown out the loneliness that follows them home. They can surround themselves with bright lights and louder people, but when the night deepens and the noise fades, the hollow ache you left behind rises like a tide they cannot outrun. This is the stage of collapse the world rarely sees, the slow, silent disintegration that does not make headlines but destroys from within. On the surface, they are busy living. Beneath, they are dying a little more each day. Not in a spectacular explosion, in tiny, invisible implosions that leave scars no one claps for. The Stoics knew this agony well. Seneca wrote, "The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable. But the mind that is chained to a loss it cannot admit is even more so." They are anxious, not because of what lies ahead, but because of the shadow that follows them everywhere. The memory of you, the life they once had with you, the version of themselves they could only be when reflected through your eyes. Take David, a 38-year-old software engineer from San Diego. After walking away from the woman who loved him without asking for anything but presents, he threw himself into his startup. 70-hour work weeks, networking events, gym sessions at midnight, trips booked without notice. On the outside, he was a man on fire. But at night, after the glow of the computer screens faded and the cheap congratulations died in his ears, he would sit alone in the dark kitchen of his apartment, staring into a half-empty glass, wondering when the emptiness would go away. It never did. Because no amount of success can heal what was broken inside when you traded love for ambition, or worse, for ego. They try to fill the void with schedules and strangers because facing the void would mean facing the truth. They lost something real, something rare, something they might never hold again. There is a brutal irony here. You, the one they thought they could discard, have become the ghost that haunts their victories. Every milestone they reach feels a little less meaningful. Every promotion, every applause, every moment of forced celebration is tainted by the knowledge that you are not there. And worse, that even if you were, it wouldn't matter, because the bridge between you is burned beyond repair. You didn't have to scream at them. You didn't have to curse them. You just had to walk away, quietly, with your dignity intact. And that silence, that absence, now rots the foundation of the life they are trying to rebuild without you. This collapse is not theatrical. It is slow, grinding, merciless, like a tree hollowed out by disease, still standing tall until a strong enough wind reveals the rot inside. Practical observation. If you ever hear through the grapevine that they are doing amazing, that they are killing it, that they are living their best life, smile to yourself. Not with spite, but with understanding. True peace needs no witnesses. Real happiness needs no announcements. The louder they proclaim their freedom, the more chains they are rattling in secret. And if, by chance, they ever cross your path again, wearing new clothes, new smiles, new lovers like armor, you will see it in their eyes. The flicker of recognition, the split second of regret, the silent question they will never ask out loud. How did you survive without me when I am still drowning without you? The answer is simple and devastating. You faced the void. You let it hollow you out. You let it hurt. You let it change you. And in that pain, you were reborn. You did not run from the emptiness. You let it teach you. And now you are whole. Not because you filled the hole with noise, but because you became strong enough to carry it. Meanwhile, they are still running, still partying, still pretending, still losing battles against shadows at 3 a.m. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." They surrendered their minds to distraction, to denial, to the lie that movement is the same as healing. You took ownership of your suffering, and because of that, you own your future. Work harder, love deeper, dream louder. But never forget, your silence was never empty. It was the forge where your new self was hammered into existence, while they, clinging to the rubble of the old world, collapsed silently under the weight of what they could never reclaim. And no matter how fast they work, how brightly they smile, or how many strangers fill their nights, the truth follows them home. Every night. Every silent, merciless night. Conclusion. You can pretend not to care. You can drown yourself in distractions. You can parade 1,000 smiles to the world. But when the noise dies down, when the last drink is finished, when the last fake laugh fades into the dark, you are alone with the truth. And truth is the most merciless judge. You cannot outrun it. You cannot outwork it. You cannot replace it. You can only face it or be crushed beneath it. Today we have only begun to uncover the quiet devastation left behind when you simply disappear. No shouting, no drama, just a clean, brutal exit, and the slow, invisible collapse that follows on the other side. A collapse dressed up in productivity, in parties, in hollow victories, and louder lies. But this is only the beginning. There is much more to expose, much more to understand, much deeper wounds that fester behind every forced smile they post and every empty success they chase. This video is getting long, and the next steps demand even sharper clarity, even colder fire. We will continue in part 2. Before you go, act now. Subscribe to Victory Stoic if you refuse to waste your pain and are ready to forge it into power. Like this video if you are committed to becoming the man who never needs to shout, because his silence carries the weight of mountains. Share it with someone who is still bleeding quietly and needs to remember who he is. And in the comments, plant your flag. Type, "Silence breaks chains." Or share your own battle, your loss, your lessons, your quiet victories, without apology and without fear. Thank you for listening. Thank you for choosing the harder road. Part 2 is coming, and when it does, we go deeper, sharper, stronger. Prepare yourself.